is the most impossible world record of all time? Maybe a ski jump off a cliff? Holding your arm up for over 50 years? Possibly standing in a frozen block of ice for 63 hours, 42 minutes, and 15 seconds? Yeah, that record isn't going anywhere. But what about being buried alive for 61 days? You see, the odds of surviving a stunt like this are so low, it stopped being tracked. But what is the most impossible record? Back in 2012, Felix Baumgartner jumped from the edge of space at 128,000 feet. I mean, the dude literally broke the sound barrier with his own body, hitting 843 miles per hour on the way down, setting a record with most people thinking it would never be broken. And they were right, for a while anyway. Because what if I told you, just 2 years later, some random computer scientist came out of nowhere and broke Felix's record? This time from 135,000 feet. And the craziest part? You probably didn't even know it happened. Or what about the highest competitive high dive? A record so rare, it remains unbroken for over 4 decades. See, back in 1983, SeaWorld San Diego hosted an event that would go down in extreme sports history. A high dive contest where the record to beat was 170 feet. That's like launching yourself off of a 15-story building or Niagara Falls. In fact, a dive like that is so dangerous that just 1 year earlier, multiple divers tried to break the record, only to end up breaking themselves. So when the contest was brought back in '83, most people thought it was a death wish. But somehow, 5 men stepped up to the challenge, each launching themselves from 172 feet.
He's in good shape. He knows where it is.
All right! Jesus Christ! That's 5 dives and 5 records in a single day! No one's completed a jump like that ever since! But what if I told you that there's a record so extreme, so crazy, that the only way to prove it was actually possible was to attempt it? This is Luke Aikens, a third-generation skydiver with over 21,000 career jumps to his name. But out of all of those jumps, only one of them set an impossible record. See, in 2016, Luke set his sights on something no one had ever attempted before. An idea so outrageous, it was almost unthinkable. He wanted to raw dog a jump out of a plane from 25,000 feet and land straight into a net. Yeah, no parachute, no backup, nothing. And I know what you're thinking. How the hell is that even legal? Well, apparently, the jump would only be approved under one condition. He had to wear a backup chute. There was just one problem. That extra weight could throw him off course completely. In fact, Luke was ready to call the whole thing off. That was until just minutes before the jump when the rule was lifted, officially sealing his fate.
So 23,000 feet, I've just jumped out, I've done a flip, kind of taking a breath, making sure I'm in the right area.
Right now, Luke is hurtling towards the ground at 240 kilometers per hour.
At about 5,000 feet, I realize I'm a little bit off.
He was drifting a lot more. So I was a little concerned why he was doing that.
Holy crap! Bro was free falling for 2 freaking minutes, hitting 150 miles per hour before finally landing in the net. Jesus, man, Luke was out of his damn mind. But he's not the only one, because these people tried to break a record, but accidentally shut down an entire city in the process. Back in 1986, the city of Cleveland set out to make history and finally put Ohio on the map. So they launched Balloon Fest, a massive event to raise funds for charity, while breaking the world record for the most balloons released at once. This was supposed to be a feel-good story, a moment of pride for the entire city. So they got to work, spending 6 whole months preparing. Everything from building a massive net over the city block to securing sponsors and even putting together 2,500 volunteers. So when the big day finally came, they were ready to change the fate of Ohio forever.
The world record has just been broken in Cleveland. Over 1,500,000 balloons going up in the air at this very, very moment.
This was supposed to be a celebration, but within minutes, that dream turned into a nightmare.
It's completely covering the terminal tower.
And the wind has just shifted just enough that the balloons are now trailing fast.
Highways were shut down, the airport was forced to close, and worst of all, the balloons even flooded Lake Erie, right in the middle of a Coast Guard rescue mission.
That big balloon launch in Cleveland today is one of the things that's making this search so tough for the Coast Guard. Can you imagine trying to find somebody floating out here or even spotting a life jacket with all these balloons on the water.
Yeah, not only were 2 lives lost that day, but the fallout was so massive that the city was hit with multi-million-dollar lawsuits. And the stunt was so reckless, the record was banned from ever happening again. Damn, only in Ohio, man. And only one person can pull this next record off. Cause this lady lived so long, it set a record. Yeah, this is Jeanne Calment, a French woman born in 1875, who also happens to have one of the most interesting lives ever. I mean, during her lifetime, she met Vincent van Gogh, watched the Eiffel Tower being built, and outlived both world wars. But what she's really known for is being old. And I mean really old. Like, not only did she experience life before the telephone and the invention of plastic, but she was also around before electricity was even a thing. But in 1997, Jeanne completed her craziest feat yet, when she officially became the oldest human to ever live, at 122 years and 164 days old. So if you've ever wondered who the oldest living person of all time is, now you know. But hey man, while some people earn their legend status, others are just born with it. Cause Robert Wadlow holds one of the most unbreakable records of all time.
Although he died in 1940, Robert's record has never been broken.
See, when Rob was born, he was just a regular baby. But as he grew older, his parents started to realize something was off. Yeah, the kid was growing 3 times faster than normal. I'm talking 5'7" at just 5 years old. Not only that, but he was growing faster than the channel. So subscribe! I'm trying to keep up. But for Robert, it was only up from there. Cause that's when doctors discovered he had a rare condition that caused his body to produce excessive amounts of growth hormone, which meant that not only would he never stop growing, but by the time he was 8, he had already outgrown his old man. Fast forward a couple of years later, when he was 12 years old, and he was right up there with giants like Shaq at 7'1". It was unbelievable. But no one could have predicted just how much taller Robert would eventually become. Cause by the time he graduated high school, he was 8'4". At that point, the dude was just turning heads wherever he went. But unfortunately for him, all the attention and fame came at a price. Cause the bigger he got, the more his body started breaking down. He had to walk with leg braces, had almost no feeling in his feet. I mean, the dude was literally outgrowing his own body. And yet, even through all that pain, he just kept growing until eventually it became too much to bear. And at just 22 years old, Robert tragically passed away, measuring 8'11", officially making him the tallest person in recorded history. Damn. Robert took that record to the grave. But this next guy took his out of one, cause Mike Meany set a record for being buried alive. You see, Mike had a couple of screws loose. I mean, the guy once got into a work accident that left him trapped under a pile of trash. And instead of never wanting to be stuck like that again, he figured he could last even longer. Yeah, so in a wild attempt to prove it, and maybe even get a little famous, Mike devised a plan. And on February 21st, 1968, after sharing one last meal with the city, he climbed into a coffin and was lowered 6 feet under. This guy really buried himself alive just for clout. Ridiculous! But I guess it paid off, because Mike went on to set not 1, but 2 unbreakable records. The longest voluntary burial and the longest time spent in an underground coffin at 61 days. And he doesn't even regret it.
You know, this morning I heard somebody ask you if you wanted to come up and you said you didn't want to come up.
Oh, I didn't want to go up at all. I want to go ahead for 100 days more.
Man, screw records. I'm just glad he's alive. But this next guy's living it up too much, cause my man Uli Emanuele had an adrenaline addiction that was taking over his life. See, in 2014, Uli was out hiking in the Dolomites when he spotted a narrow cave carved into the side of a mountain. I mean, this thing was so small, even just the thought of flying through it was a joke. But what started as a joke turned into an obsession, because over the next 3 years, Uli trained like a madman. Like the dude was flying between trees, carving through tight gaps, and doing anything he could to get better. Until eventually, after 3 years, he returned to that exact same spot. This time, with thousands of hours of practice under his wings, ready to find out once and for all if it was actually possible. What the? And the madness didn't stop there, because Uli ended up repeating the stunt 4 times that very same day. Man, that's crazy. But what about a record so insane that it only happened once? A record that realistically shouldn't even be possible. Well, I think I found it. the extreme sports of wingsuit flying, a hobby that blends two of the most adrenaline-pumping pastimes out there, base jumping and skydiving. But what if you took things a step further? What if you cut out the one thing standing between you and becoming a human fried egg? Well, in 2012, Gary wanted to take thinking outside the box to a whole new level. So he and his team stacked 18,000 boxes and planned to land onto them. Yeah. And I'm not talking about some soft coochie touchdown. He was ready to smash into them from 24,000 feet. In other words, the dude was totally off his rocker. Because on May 23rd of that very same year, after everyone begged him not to do it, Gary did it anyway. Wow, damn. That went way better than I expected. But hey, he knew exactly what he was getting himself into, all right? Not everyone can say the same, because this skier set a world record by accident, and it nearly killed him. Back in 2008, Fred Silverson was shooting a movie on the Alps when one tiny mistake would change his life forever. You see, Fred was skiing down the mountain at 50 miles per hour when suddenly he got his lines mixed up and accidentally launched himself off a cliff. That right there was a 351-foot drop. No skier had ever jumped from that kind of height, especially not on purpose. So at that moment, it seemed like he was done for.
It's nothing bad. Everything is okay. But he jumped a big cliff on the wrong place.
Yeah! By some miracle, he walked away without even a scratch. But the craziest part is, Fred wasn't even trying to make history. He just accidentally survived it. Damn, that's just wild. You know what's not an accident at all? The fact that Alex Honnold's record is crazy as hell. Because he pulled off the most dangerous climb in human history in record time. See, this is El Capitan, a 3,000-foot summit in Yosemite that takes even the best climbers fully geared up days to complete. But my boy Alex just went for it with nothing but a pair of shoes and a little chalk on his hands. I mean, bro wasn't even wearing a helmet.
He comes from a very humble background, his mom being a teacher and his dad a mountain goat. This man is acting like he can respawn. Do not start a thumb war with that man. This is the type of route parents claim they used to go to school back in their days.
Yeah, dude climbed the world's most challenging wall in the world in just 3 hours and 56 minutes. To prove just how crazy that is, most climbers would still be unpacking their gear while Alex is already chilling at the top. That is nuts! But sometimes having all that speed can go horribly wrong. Because this man tried to beat a world record, but died trying. See, Bill Warner was a professional motorcycle racer with one mission: to go faster than anyone in history. And in 2011, that's exactly what he did, riding his modified Suzuki Hayabusa to the tune of 311.94 miles per hour. But it turns out, this wasn't really the finish line for Bill. Because after setting this record, he thought of trying something even crazier, hitting 300 miles per hour in a single mile. And if Bill accomplished this, he was planning on retiring from racing for good. So he spent the next 2 years chasing it, even surviving a crash in 2011 that could have easily ended it all. But in July 2013, he returned to the very same track in Maine for one final attempt, when tragedy struck.
He was going 287 at the mile marker when his bike suddenly veered hard to the right and went off the runway. He was launched 40 feet high and 100 yards down the track. Warner was conscious and talking as he was taken to the hospital, but he was pronounced dead at Cary Medical Center at 11:15, which was about an hour after his fateful run.
Yeah, and as of the making of this video, Bill's record remains unbroken. Damn. I can't believe it. And I can't believe Richard Noble either. Because this man set a record for driving faster than the speed of sound. See, not only did Rich break a land speed record in the 80s, but in the 90s, he wanted to do something that the world had never seen before. So he assembled a team of designers, engineers, and even a fighter jet pilot to build this, the Thrust SSC, a jet-powered car equipped with 2 enormous engines, the same kind used in military aircrafts, weighing over 10 tons. Stretching 54 feet long and producing more than 50,000 pounds of thrust. This thing literally packed the power of 140 Formula One cars. And its sole purpose is not only to set a new speed record, but to become the first land vehicle to break the sound barrier. So on October 15th, 1997, out in the Black Rock Desert in Nevada, pilot Andy Green hit the throttle.
He's rolling.
The average for the 2 runs was 763 miles an hour. But more important, they were both faster than the speed of sound.
Just like that, it didn't just break a record, it broke the laws of physics. Because to this day, it's still the fastest car in history. But look, man, we've heard a lot of impossible records so far, and yet we've got one that tops them all. The deadliest record in human history. See, when it comes to pushing the limits, no category is more lethal than the water speed record.
As he approached 270 miles per hour, the boat broke in two. Taylor's body went 300 feet down to the bottom of the lake. Another life lost to the water speed record.
Yeah, since the 1940s, there have only been 7 official attempts to break the water speed record, 5 of which ended in tragedy. That's a 70% fatality rate, which sounds insane, unless you're this guy.
They told me it's about 50-50 as far as the record goes. But isn't this, for a man with a wife and family, isn't this some sort of madness to chance your life in a 50-50 way? I don't think so. I think I'm going to be one of the lucky 50, not the unlucky 50.
You see, Ken Warby wasn't some millionaire racer with an elite team or fancy garage. The dude built his own boat out of plywood and fiberglass right in his own backyard. And in 1977, when his homemade boat hit the water, it left the record books in its wake, reaching a top speed of 289 miles per hour and smashing a decade-old record. But for Ken, that still wasn't enough, because less than a year later, he didn't just break the record again, he blew it out of the water, clocking a top speed so extreme, people didn't even think it was possible.
A new world water speed record, and still the mark today at an average of 317.6 miles per hour.
317! My God! A record no one's been able to break and make it out alive. But look, it's not just extreme records where people are making it out alive, because there are some deadly prisons too. From overcrowding cells where inmates aren't allowed to sleep, to being locked up in actual cages. It's ridiculous what some prisons have going on. Look, if you want to hear more, then you need to click on this video right here. These are the world's most dangerous prisons. And trust me, man, this video is a banger. All right? Click it now.